All right, welcome everyone to the 7th episode already of the Homey podcast. I'm your host, Abe, Partnerships Manager here at Homey, and I'm joined here today by Bouke.
Hi.
Welcome.
Yeah, nice to be, first time on the podcast, but nice to be back. I was previously on the live stream.
For the Homey Energy.
Exactly.
Homey Energy and Homey Energy Dongle. Yeah, welcome to the show. What do you do here at Homey?
I'm mobile app developer at Homey. So as the name suggests, I mainly work on the mobile app.
Both the Android and iOS
yes,
apps.
Yes, both the Android and iOS app. And currently I'm hard at work on Homey Energy.
Yeah, the final touches.
Yeah, the final touches, exactly.
Planning to release it to beta or
stable? It is currently in beta, and we're expected to release to stable in about 2 weeks. At the same time, the Energy Dongle will be shipping as well.
Yeah, so we sent an update to everyone last week who pre-ordered the Homey Energy Dongle on what shipping looks like. So hopefully you will get this one in your mail soon. We'll also be talking about Homey Energy a bit. We'll be doing a deep dive into Homey Energy today together with Bouke, since you also worked on a lot of the app functions in regards to Homey Energy. But first, I was wondering, what did your week look like in smart home last week?
It's getting nicer. The weather is getting nicer here in the Netherlands. So I have a lot of flows which are based on time of day. So, for example, sunrise, sunset. But I wasn't completely happy with those, actually, because sometimes when it's nice weather, it gets, it's lighter outdoors later. So what I did, I bought one of those Aqara luminance sensors.
Yeah, the light sensor.
The light sensors, yeah. And I put one of those outside, so it's not waterproof by default, but I bought one of those IKEA glass containers to waterproof it and put it outside.
Like the Tupperware.
Yeah, like the Tupperware ones with from glass.
Yeah.
And I'm actually migrating my flows to be light-based, so luminance-based instead of time of day or the sunset or sunrise.
Yeah, so that it knows how light it is outside specifically.
When it's a rainy day, for example, it will get darker earlier in the day or when it's really cloudy outside. So I'm starting to migrate my flows to that. So my lights and window coverings, for example, they will use that sensor instead. I'm still in the process of tweaking it a bit and making sure it is exactly how I want it to be. Sometimes it's too early still.
Yeah, I think that's a difficult part, right?
Yeah,
Since you don't exactly know which value you want to put in terms of the luminous value.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did exactly the same a couple of weeks ago. And what I just did is at the moment that I thought it was dark enough outside, I just had a look at the value and then put it in. Okay, it should be around here.
Wow, that's a smart idea. I should do that.
Yeah, since it's luminance doesn't tell you anything.
No, exactly.
But that's a nice way of looking at it. So now lights only turn on when it's
it was actually mostly my window covering. So I have roller shutters in my living room, and they were sometimes closing too early. So I wanted to make sure it when it gets dark they close.
Good one. I've done the same with I started with my lights, but I still have to do my window coverings. But I also noticed this weekend is that the blinds in the bedroom already started closing while it was still quite light outside. So good one to add those as well.
Yeah, but I can understand that people still prefer the sunset, sunrise, because of course it's way easier to set up.
And you don't need the additional device,
sensor,
of course. And I think what I've noticed as well is you also see that a lot of motion sensors have the light sensor included.
Yeah.
But you see that with a dedicated light sensor, it's much more granular on the numbers you can choose, since it's much more accurate.
Yeah, and one of the issues I was having, those sensors, for example, you use them inside. So if your lights are already on, or
it gets influenced by the other factors.
by the sensor. So that's why I put one outside in a relatively dark spot where there's no light.
Yeah, exactly.
Artificial light.
Interesting. Well, for me, of course, we've been testing out Homey Energy, and I think I mentioned it before. Is that one thing that I noticed is that my Plex media server was using a ton of energy. I think it was about a quarter of my total energy or monthly energy usage, and it was costing me around like 20 euros. Which was quite high.
Yeah, I mean, energy is a nice feature, but it also gives you some painful insights in what it costs to shower, for example. And
and when I showed my girlfriend as well, she was like, "Yeah, can we do something about it?"
Yeah,
I think, of course, the biggest thing is with Plex. For people that don't know, Plex is a way to host your own Netflix, so to say. I guess
your
that's
own local media, right?
Of course, all legally acquired.
Legal. Yeah, exactly.
And that sort of stuff. But yeah, what you can do on the Homey App Store, you have this Wake on LAN app. So what I started doing is creating a advanced flow that so let's say when I wanted to watch a movie, I can just turn on the device via the Wake on LAN.
I see.
And I just turn it off again when I'm finished watching. So that way the server is basically only on when I'm actively watching something.
That I had the same experience with Homey Energy, so I started hooking up devices to Homey Energy and saw, well, my NAS is actually using a lot of power. I didn't go as aggressively, so I made some optimizations with drive idle states.
So that the drive don't spin.
They don't spin. So that saved, I think, a few bucks a month or something.
Yeah, no, it's really it's crazy how all those numbers will just go
they add up
into your head. You start thinking about it. It really makes it and dus you say tastbaar. It really
makes it
seeing the numbers, actually seeing what it costs you, that can be really impactful. And it's also really nice to now, instead of seeing what my server costs to run all day, I can see what it costs to watch a movie or
when we started using energy internally, I also started looking at like the base level of energy you're using in the house. So that's, of course, the most interesting because
and seeing how you can
it's
get
used
it down
all the time and seeing how you can get it down. So optimizing my NAS was one of those, for example. Also seeing which devices you still have plugged in around
that are using power,
which are using power you might not use.
Yeah, no, that's also interesting. Yeah, we will dive into the app and show that all in a bit as well. But so the Wake on LAN app, great addition. Can be found in the community app. Another one that I installed is, of course, the Plex app that you can use, which also works great. And there's also an Unraid app. So that's the operating system that I use on my server. That's also working great. So those three together really, took that to the next level. And now I can sleep well at night, knowing that I am not wasting energy and spending a bunch of money that I don't want to spend. All right, next up, we have some smart home news. Of course, since our last podcast, a bit of interesting news came out. I think the first topic I want to highlight is the CSA leaking some new smart devices.
Interesting.
So for the people that don't know, the CSA, the Connectivity Standards Alliance, is the alliance that governs with Zigbee, Matter, Thread. Guess that's all.
Yeah, you have to apply your device to them.
So
right?
So for Matter devices, you basically need to certify your Matter device with the CSA, and then they get added to this database where you can see all devices,
which is public. So,
which is public, and some new SwitchBot devices popped up there. So. The first one is the SwitchBot Hub 3. So that's their new hub. I don't know. Do you have any SwitchBot devices at home?
I have one of those devices that roll on your
the curtain robots.
I'm currently not using it because, like I said, I switched to roller shutters. But yeah, it's an interesting device. Let's say.
Yeah, so basically for the SwitchBot devices, they either use Wi-Fi, so some of their devices use Wi-Fi, other ones use Bluetooth. Yeah. And that's where this hub comes in. So
they go big on Bluetooth, right?
Yeah, since it was maybe a fun segue here. We did just do an interview with their founders. That's live on our website. But in that interview, you can read all about why they, for example, choose to use Bluetooth.
So interesting story.
a very interesting story. And I think it's also a very logical explanation. A lot of users just know Wi-Fi, they know Bluetooth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
People
and it's
know
easy. Your phone already,
exactly
can read Bluetooth data.
So with Homey as well, you can either choose to connect directly through Bluetooth with the devices or use their hub. And this new Hub 3 looks a bit different than their previous one. So it still has a display, but it now also has a dial on there, a few quick shortcut buttons, and it also does Matter, which is interesting.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you can use it as a thermostat, for example, or with an AC.
Yeah, that's interesting. So they, I know their previous hubs did have a temperature and humidity sensor integrated.
Yeah.
And I think also one did have a CO2 sensor. But as it looks like, it does display the temperature and you can control the temperature in 1 degree increments, even though the display has half a degree increments.
Okay. Maybe they didn't get a knob.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Or something, yeah.
But you can use the knob to adjust the temperature. There's some shortcuts for going away or going home. Also for day and night from what it looks like. There's a small moon and a small sun on the device. And yeah, basically after this came out, I had a quick chat with Richard. He said, looks like the CSA is now promoting our not yet released devices.
Yeah.
And then he just also republished it on his socials.
A lot of it depends on how customizable it will be, right? Yeah.
So no, that's an interesting one. The other one that they that the CSA basically announced is a new light. So it's a floor lamp that we all know.
Is it their first light actually, or?
I know that they made lights in the past. I'm not sure if they are still available though. But yeah, this looks like a new light product from SwitchBot. I have the feeling that everybody is doing smart lights.
Yeah, exactly. All of different standards as well. So that's of course where Homey again comes in. But
you see them in all different standards. Also really wondering, is this light going to have Wi-Fi? Is it going to be Bluetooth?
Matter.
Of course Matter, since it's certified with the CSA. So I think that will be Wi-Fi then. But yeah, what do you think of all these companies going to lights? So with Eufy as well? Yeah,
well, I think users usually customers stuck to one brand of lights, because if you mix and match, you have one light which is a certain like hue of red, and then another one is slightly different hue. I think like it can be nice to get prices down if many different manufacturers start producing lights. And it's probably maybe an easy category for them to get into. So that's maybe why a lot of them are doing it. That's true. And I think as well that if you're already offering such an ecosystem of products, it's I wouldn't say weird, but it's like if you're missing lights, it's one of the main categories in smart home, you know? Yeah, I think for Homey users, it doesn't really matter. But if you're using all SwitchBot devices, for example, because you have their hub, it may make sense to also offer lights, and so that people can stay in your app and use it, of course. But of course, nice to see that they also are adopting Matter, and knowing SwitchBot, it will be probably also be available in their APIs. So don't expect any problems there. Then for our next topic or our next bit of news, a lot of stuff is happening with AI and voice assistants. It's a big thing, right? It's a big thing. We saw Amazon Alexa or Amazon introduce Alexa Plus. And we saw Google basically making, or how do you say this nicely? They are adding the Google Assistant to the Google graveyard, it looks like. Yeah, I saw like a headline from The Verge, I think, and they said they were killing Google Assistant, which... gets a lot of attention, I think. I guess killing is a bit much, but what they are doing is pretty much replacing Google Assistant with Google Gemini. So their AI voice and both, basically their ChatGPT alternative. Which I guess it makes sense. Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see if it gets new features. For example, if you can say, turn the living room lights on except this and that device. Or I already did some testing. So Gemini, of course, is already available on Android phones in voice as well. And it basically, I got a notification on my phone saying, hey, do you want to switch from Google Assistant to Gemini? I see. That's nice. And you still have this section that is that it can do the actions that Google Assistant knows. And I found that it had a bit easier time understanding what I tried to say. So sometimes I say, hey,
I don't know, but maybe close the blinds a bit.
Yeah.
Like not that much. Google Assistant wouldn't know what to do there. But Gemini knows, and it knows it just closes them a bit instead of all the way.
Yeah, if I say close the blinds a bit, I think it tells me directions to a store somewhere.
Exactly. So in that case, Gemini is a great addition, I think, here.
Yeah.
The only thing that I don't understand is why get rid of Google Assistant and not just say Google Assistant powered by Gemini.
Yeah, it's, I think, rebranding just to promote Gemini, I would say.
Yeah, I guess. But there are so many devices with the Google Assistant.
Yeah,
like you have cars,
I think also
TVs.
Assistant is something people know, and Gemini, Yeah,
so maybe it's them trying to generate some buzz. But I already see all the people saying, hey, this is another item we could add to the Google graveyard.
Yeah, I mean, my experience with Google Home speakers, which are also using Google Assistant, of course, is that they got slightly worse over the years. Like
that's
commands.
the feeling, right?
Yeah, that's the feeling. I mean, I'm not sure if it's actually happening or not, but that's the feeling. So it's interesting to see if that gets better. But
I always use my Google Assistant in English. Just because I like it better that way. It always confuses blinds with lights with me. So if I say close the bedroom blind, 9 out of 10 times all the lights turn off.
Maybe it's also our Dutch accent.
Yeah, that could also be. Maybe it's a Dutch accent. But and then looking at the competition, Amazon, they are doing pretty much or are pretty much powering up Alexa. So instead of replacing Alexa with another AI, they're just calling it Alexa Plus now. Yeah,
they also don't really have a specific name for their AI tools, I think, right? So it makes sense to just call it Alexa Plus or...
and they are basically doing the same thing. I think what's really interesting there, I saw some videos about the topic. What's really cool there is that you can ask Alexa to create automations with your voice. And they can be really specific. So you could say, hey, when the sun goes down, close my blinds and turn off the light or turn on the lights.
Does it also ask questions back, for example?
That's a good question. That I don't know, but you can at least now create some more complex automations. And of course, it will get better at understanding you and that sort of stuff. I think the turn side here, of course, voice powered by AI can be really powerful. Yeah. But the other side as well, of course, what will they do with your data?
And it has different levels of implementations. I mean, it's the voice side, but it's also the side that connects to your devices and what can you actually do with it? I mean, AI on itself, it doesn't tell you that much. It depends on implementation a lot, of course.
Exactly. Yeah, I saw that Amazon did say that they also introduced like payments and shopping with it.
Yeah, that makes sense, of course, for Amazon.
Yeah. And of course, for Google Assistant, I bet they will do some clever stuff with it as well. But I guess that it will also raise a lot of questions in regards to privacy and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, there are also local alternatives, and you see that local AI and local voice is also becoming bigger.
Yeah.
I already saw some speculation. I don't know if you saw that thread on the Homey forum as well. There was also a YouTube video of this YouTuber guessing that we are working on the return of Homey voice.
I saw a little bit of it, but
there's a lot of speculation. I mean, we're not going to say anything or confirm or deny anything here.
We did have a voice assistant before Google Home, actually.
Exactly, in the White Orb, in the first generation Homey Pro, it did have voice.
Yeah.
But then we said, of course, hey, we just don't have the resources to compete with Google and Alexa here.
No, exactly.
But maybe with AI that will level the playing field here.
Yeah.
But who knows, I guess, is what we're going to say here. Next topic. This is, just came out, I think today or either yesterday, and that's Philips Hue supposedly working on a doorbell. Do you have a smart doorbell?
I do not. I actually live in an apartment, so I'm stuck with the buzzer.
Yeah,
outside.
With the buzzer that's in the building. Yeah. Yeah, no, same for me. I also live with a shared front door with me and the neighbor, so no doorbell there.
I think there's some products which integrate with buzzers and
Ring has one. It has a Ring intercom that works with a lot of intercom systems, and of course you can also create something yourself. I did it with an ESP32.
I did the same, but I also have a camera in my apartment, but of course, that doesn't support
that
ESP.
doesn't work. Yeah, for me, it's just only opening and getting a notification when someone rings the door. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Of course, Philips Hue launched Philips Hue it is. Signify launched their secure line of products.
Interesting.
Like, what was it, last year? With their cameras and their door window sensors. And it was a lot of buzz around it, but you don't hear much surrounding those products.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they're famous about of their lights, and a lot of people use those, and they work great, I think. But
so really curious to see how a doorbell will do if they plan to launch that. Since you already see Ring, you see Google Nest there, you see Eufy, you see Netatmo. There's so many people. Basically the same as with lights.
Yeah, but those companies started with the primary goal of selling cameras and alarm systems.
Yeah, curious how. I mean, I think the only thing that Philips Hue is going for it, the same as with their secure line, is that they can integrate directly with their lights. Yeah. So they can say when motion is detected, flash your lights or whatever. But of course, there's also something I can do with Homey, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. So yeah, curious to see how that will, if they will launch that doorbell and how that will do. Since I'm not feeling that their cameras.
Yet, or...
there was. I think it was a screenshot from their app, like a beta build of their app, where they got a screenshot.
Yeah, we try to be really careful to not include
images
like
products,
that.
Into our app. And next up, I think some Homey news is that we did some quality of life improvements on the voice assistants.
Of course, we talked about AI being integrated in voice assistants, but we also, of course, have integrations with Alexa and Google Assistant. One of the downsides of those integrations was that you were not able to exclude devices in Alexa or Google Assistant, which you now can. So Homey Pro 2023 users and cloud users, they can exclude some devices from their voice assistants.
I think I can quickly maybe give that a look, since we are... in the Homey app, of course, you can go to More. And under the More section...
It's still at the same place settings used to be.
So it's settings, and then you have integrations with Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant. Well, me, myself, I use Google Assistant. You can, of course, turn on your synchronization here, so that will automatically synchronize. I think there's a bit of confusion here sometimes. You, of course, can add Homey in the Google Home app. Which will add your devices one time.
So synchronization
is basically that it gets updated when new devices are added to Homey. So that's what you can do here. And of course, you have excluded devices. So that's something that you can have here, and you can exclude all the devices.
I see you already excluded quite a few of them.
56.
Wow.
So I excluded quite a lot of devices, but most of them are like sensors that don't really show anything in Google Home. Or one thing that I excluded was a Chromecast device. Since if you add a Chromecast device in the Google Home app, it's there. And then you add it to Homey, and then it gets synchronized back. So it's really nice that you can exclude those devices.
And then for Google Home, we also have the PIN Protect feature.
So that's the one that's also visible here. What does PIN Protected devices do?
Well, some of you might have seen one of those videos where someone screams through a window, turn on the lights, or hey Google, turn on the lights. And then in some stranger's house, the lights turn on. But you previously could also do that with, for example, locks. So scream through a window, hey Google, unlock front door or something. And then, of course, the front door would open.
I tried it in my home as well. When this was announced that we were working on this, I should give that a try. So I was standing in the hallway between in front of the front door. And there's a Google Home device like right next to the front door, in like in the entrance of my home. And when I screamed open the front door would open. I have mine set to English, so I'm sure that most burglars would try Dutch. Maybe
you would have to know. There's a device there, but
what you can now do. So again, within the Google Assistant, and I think it's good to mention this one is only available for Google Assistant. Is that you can enable PIN protected devices. You can, of course, choose a PIN code, a 4-digit PIN code, and then you can choose which devices should be protected here. And if I remember correctly, this is for doors, locks.
And garage doors, I think.
Garage doors.
All of the devices which you can lock in Google Home.
And then next time that you synchronize with Google Home, Google will ask for the PIN code.
Yes. So it will
open the door.
Also in the app and the voice assistant will ask for a PIN code.
For a PIN code to open the door. So yeah, I think great quality of life improvements.
Yeah, I think so.
That should be available.
They are available.
They are available now.
9.1.0. Cool.
Awesome. So have fun trying those out. Then I guess for some cool new apps that I also wanted to highlight. So we have a cool new community app that I wanted to spotlight, and that's the Fiat Uconnect app, via which you can connect your connected Fiat car. So I think, do you have an electric car?
I do not own a car, so yeah.
Oh no
car at all. No.
You're one of those typical Dutch persons that only goes
I
to work
own
on
two
his bike,
bikes.
Right? Yeah. Is it electric though?
No, it is not.
It is not. It's not even electric. So just a old-fashioned bike. Yeah. So for the people that do have a electric car, of course, it's also really interesting to import your car into Homey. Since with those apps, you can usually get the state of charge of your car. You can see what can you do. For some, you can blink, like the blinkers. You can press the horn. All fun and games, of course. But I guess the main feature here is that you get the battery percentage.
Yeah, which is also, of course, nicely integrated in Homey Energy.
In Homey Energy. So you can also see it there. So with the new Fiat Uconnect app, you can connect your Fiat car. It shows a Fiat 500. But it works with, or it's been tested with the Fiat 500e, so the electric version of the Fiat. But it should work with all your Uconnected Fiat cars.
You will probably know this, Abe, but we have quite a few community apps for electric cars now, right? Or connected
cars. We have
cars.
quite a few. So we have Fiat, we have Hyundai and Kia, Xpeng, Tesla as well. We also had one for VAG, so Volkswagen Group cars. But they are not the easiest with the API. So I know that these apps may work, but we're currently looking with Volkswagen if we can maybe make that official. But yeah, there are plenty of community-built car apps.
And I think all new cars are probably connected, so it will get
most
more
of them have
more.
4G or 5G built in. So go check the Homey App Store to see if your cars support it. And also do know that we are working with a lot of car manufacturers as well. We are in contact and seeing if we can make those integrations official.
Yes.
Of course, where we can together with the community developers as well. And then, also 2 new official apps. So we saw the release of First Alert, which was a highly requested app from over in the United States. So First Alert is a manufacturer of smart smoke alarms.
I saw that app.
Yeah. And they make a Z-Wave. It's a combination of a smoke alarm and a CO alarm. It's called the Z Combo, I think. And that's now supported. So you can install the app and connect your second generation Z Combo. That's not all working well. We are also planning to integrate their first generation Z Combo and their Z Smoke. So that's only their smoke alarm. But unfortunately, those samples can't be acquired anymore. So
we have to get them on the second-hand market.
Second-hand market, or if there are any users listening that think, hey, I have a first generation Z Combo or a Z Smoke, always feel free to reach out, and we can see to have those added as well. But that app is now available to download in the Homey App Store. We also saw another app launch from one of our retailers.
Tink, right?
Yeah, Tink. So for the people that don't know Tink, Tink is a quite a large European smart home or e-tailer. They do online. They sell online. So a lot of smart home brands ranging from Bosch to Tado to Akara to whatever you name it. And Homey, of course. So Homey is available there as well. But they also have their own Matter devices. So
I did not know they were actually selling their own devices. But
so they have 2 light bulbs now, a contact sensor, and a smart plug.
Nice.
Which all work over Matter. And they have also created an app for their devices so that you... Of course, you don't essentially need an app for Matter devices, but with this app, you get the custom icons, you get the pairing instructions. So that's available for download as well for the people who have bought their devices. And then I guess now into the deep dive topic.
Homey Energy.
Homey Energy. So we announced Homey Energy back in December.
Yes.
You were there as well.
Yeah. We had a few issues with the app launch with some people.
Yeah. So it was, of course, we launched it in beta. Yeah. So we have all been there with the bumps in the road. Yeah. But I think a lot of work has been done.
Yeah.
It's looking really nice.
Of course, one of the reasons we tested the app so long in beta is also because app developers now had time to update their apps to work with Homey Energy.
Yeah, so I also created a post on the forum with all the supported energy meters, which are a lot that are currently supported. Yes. So not only this one, which is, of course, the Homey Energy Dongle, which, should start shipping
I think next
within 2
week.
weeks. Yeah, next week, the week after. But also any other friend offers some Zigbee devices. You have a lot of community ones, apps that are also now compatible with Homey Energy.
Yeah, it's especially nice for countries where the Homey Energy dongle, of course, is not supported.
Yeah, since the Homey Energy dongle uses the P1 standard, that isn't common everywhere. So also for people that don't have a P1 enabled meter, there are options. We can also link to the community or the forum threads.
And it will be on our knowledge base as well.
Yeah, in the knowledge base and also in the description. So we just quickly run through, I think, starting with the Homey Energy dongle. Since what some people might not know is that the Homey Energy dongle also has its custom interface in the Homey app.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
So if you open the device, you firstly get this nice overview of the Homey Energy dongle with the live power reading, which for my home currently is 360 or around 360 watts. What I really like here is the blinking LED on the Homey Energy dongle.
It does match with the blinking LED on your device as well.
Oh, really? So it's synced.
Yeah, it's synced, yeah.
Awesome. So it basically blinks whenever a new reading gets through.
Yeah, when a new reading gets through. So it depends on the meter you have at home, how often it blinks. But usually, at least in the Netherlands, it should blink about once a second.
Yeah, so with the latest meters, I think.
With the latest meters, Some of them only do once a minute, I think, but the new meters have usually once a second,
I think one tab that we added that was also based on some community feedback is the face load, which already came handy for me, actually.
Oh, really?
I already used that at home. But what can we see here?
Well, this probably gets a bit technical, but you have phases at home, so either usually 1 or 3, and those all have a maximum capacity or load, which is on the phases usually you have at home. So I'm not sure what they are set to in your
for
home,
me. So we maybe quickly show how you can set those. So in the device settings for the Homey Energy dongle, you can see the phase capacity. And of course, the phase amount will automatically be recognized.
Yes, so it will recognize how many phases and it will pre-select those in the app.
Yeah, so for me, it auto-detected that I have 3 phases at home. And then I know that you can usually see this on your statement with your energy provider, or you can have a look in your electricity closet, of course. But I have 3 25 amp phases.
Yeah, I think that's the most common
here in the Netherlands. And then, of course, you can save those and it will show up in the app. And then it will show like this. And here you can see your current load per phase. Yeah, what I noticed, we were cooking dinner. I have a induction cook stove. We were using the oven, the air fryer, and the water cooker was on. And we found out that everything in the kitchen and in the utility closet, I would say, where we also have our oven and such, are all in the first phase. So I got a notification from the Homey app saying, hey, you might want to watch out since there's above a 90% load on the first phase. Yeah,
it especially gets interesting, I think, when you also have an electric car, for example, and solar panels maybe. And
since of course you want to make sure that your load at home is divided.
You can't really divide it, but you can shut down
exactly.
devices.
You can make sure that the load doesn't get too high. And of course, you can also create a flow. So there are flow cards, right? For the phases.
So you can set which percentage you will get a notification at. So usually, I think by default it's set to 90%. So when the phase load gets above 90%, you will get
a
notification, or you can use it in flows to, for example, turn off your like oven or something. Yeah.
And then, of course, you also have all the capabilities that the Homey Energy Dongle shows up with. So in my case, it's the power per 3 phases. It's my gas usage, and of course the tariffs. That it's also, or at least the current tariff that you are on. Yeah, and then again in the settings, there isn't much what you can do. Of course, in some countries you have a decryption key, as far as I understand.
I think in Luxembourg, the data sent from your meter is encrypted, so Homey Energy Dongle and any other dongle can't read it. So you have to ask your energy provider for a decryption key, so kind of a password you have to enter in the app.
Yeah, and you can add it here in your settings, but it will also ask it during setup, right?
Yeah, so when you do the setup of Energy Dongle, it will, when it's completed, the actual setup part, it will also, check if it can read the data which is coming from your smart meter. And if it detects, this is encrypted, you will get prompted to enter the decryption key, which you can get from your energy provider. Yeah. We will also have, I think, a knowledge base article about this.
Exactly. Yeah, and then you can see your DSMR version. So that's from IDATS 5. So that's the
newest.
Yeah, the newest standard. Of course, your firmware, your MAC address, your Wi-Fi. Of course, you can exclude from Homey Energy if you would like to do that. For some reason.
You can. That's, I think, a useful feature for some other devices you might want to exclude.
If you have multiple, for example. And I think interesting thing that I see here as well is a local API.
Yes, I think something which was discussed in a previous podcast. Some community members were asking for a local API.
So essentially, you could just buy the Homey Energy Dongle, enable the local API, and integrate it into any other system.
Yeah, you do not specifically have to use Homey to use the local API.
Good to know. The local API runs locally. Yeah, so that's also, of course, in the name, but it runs locally on your network.
You do have to use the Homey app to set up your Energy Dongle, but
to connect to Wi-Fi.
To connect to Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's interesting. Since I already had some partners as well who got in touch that were interested in using the Homey Energy Dongle together with the local API. So, you can enable that here. And then, the Homey Energy Dongle will also share that data over the local network. And, of course, you can also get the data from the USB Type-C port that's on the side. Let's jump into Homey Energy itself. So, this is my home. Unfortunately, I have quite a bit of a boring setup. I don't have solar panels. I don't have a electric car. And I don't have a home battery.
Well, to be fair, I think it's a setup that most people have at home currently.
I live in an apartment above a store in the middle of the city center. So, for me, there's unfortunately no option to use solar panels. I do have a roof terrace, and I saw there are also some balcony solar panels.
Think it's a big thing in Germany,
right? In Germany, and it's now also expanding to the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So people just put a plug-in battery on their balcony, and then...
I think, of course, we are located close to the German border, and they often have like great deals on solar panels for your balcony and stuff. So I was actually looking into those if it's a feasible option, but...
for me as well, but it's still a bit iffy.
It's still a bit iffy.
But good to know that we are also... EcoFlow, of course, is already integrated, but they will be integrating their balcony solutions as well with Homey. And we also had some other partners that are integrating their systems. So, those will be added as well. But of course, you can see the Homey Energy Dongle.
Yeah. So of course we start with the house up top, which shows the flows of energy running. So in your case, I think it's not that super interesting because you only use power. But if you also produce power from solar panels, it will show up in this graph or this image. Below, you can actually see in your case, probably your Homey Energy Dongle.
You can indeed...
go to the device, but also see what it's currently using.
Yeah, so for me, that's still around 360 watts is what my home uses when nothing is happening. Yeah.
If you have solar panels, for example, it will also show a tile next to it. And also we're currently working on showing smart home batteries and EVs in there as well. So if you have a
so they will get
smart
a
connected
button.
Fiat we just talked about, it will show a tile there.
Yeah, and I think, of course, you have your graph, which for me only shows the imported amount of energy.
Yes.
But if you have solar panels, it will show both imported,
it will show
exported.
a blue and a green part for
what's exported. And then also, of course, your total net usage.
So you also have a yellow graph below it, which shows the solar.
And then I think that's the most interesting part, at least for me at this moment. That is the top consumers. So I think it's interesting if I switch the overview to, let's say, this month. You, of course, can get your total energy usage. And then we can see here already is my home server is using quite a lot. So 16 euros and 75 cents for my home server. And of course, you can also see all my other devices. But I think this is a very interesting part. I do have a lot of smart plugs here. So I have smart plugs.
I think it's important to note that you need smart plugs for this feature, right?
Yeah, so or a device needs to report it itself, of course, and have it as a capability. Or just like me, you just buy 20 smart plugs and start plugging everything.
There are some great deals for smart plugs. You have to, of course, check if they also have power monitoring. But
and of course, our best buy guides are a great reference here.
Exactly.
But that's a nice one, the top consumers. And it also shows all the way at the bottom devices that haven't used anything as of now. So in my case, that's my monitor that hasn't been turned on today. Or this month. Of course, your gas usage, which will also be read from your smart meter
if it supports it.
If it supports it, and then of course your water meter. So I have a separate water meter at home, and that can also be added, right? Yeah,
some countries, I think some parts of Belgium, the Homey Energy Dongle can read your water usage.
So it will get that from the P1 port.
It will get it from the P1 port. In the Netherlands, for example, you have to buy a separate
device.
Water meter. Meter.
Interesting. And then, of course, all the way at the bottom, you have available power-ups. That's for me, of course, go buy some solar panels.
Yeah, we are still actually working on an option to hide, for example, in your case, the solar panels, because in an apartment, you're probably not able to add them. But
what you can do here, so you have this power up, and the learn more button will get you to the
best buy guide.
The best buy guide, where you can read a bit about which solar panels works well with Homey. So this is it's a bit of tidying up, and then it can go to stable.
Yeah, and I think also important to note is we're not yet done with energy, so we will go to stable with this feature, but we're also working on adding. You talked about the prices, but currently only. Like fixed pricing is added.
So for me, what you can, for example, this is my electricity tariff. That's something that you have to manually put in now.
So if you have a fixed contract, you can add just one price. But dynamic tariffs is also something, which is coming soon. It will not be there at launch, but it's something we're working on supporting.
And then it will get the dynamic tariffs.
Yes.
I think it's hourly, right?
Currently it's hourly, but in Europe, they're also experimenting with, I think, prices each 15 minutes.
Oh, 15 minutes, but at first it will be per hour.
First it will be per hour.
Interesting. So, I hope that people like this new feature. Still seeing a lot of new devices being added here, support being added. Also
it's
fun
not too painful for people with devices which are using a lot of power, but
I think it's really nice to give some insights to users so that they are aware of what their home is using. I mean, usually you just get the statement monthly of how much you use, and you have no idea.
Like we already discussed it for a bit, but internally we saw a few people who were looking at this and said, "Well, I actually made a few changes in my house already." So
for me as well, I think what's the most interesting thing that I saw, if we look at for example, my daily usage, is that you have these small bumps, which are the fridge turning on and off. which is interesting. So it hovers between, 360 and 280 watts. And then, of course, you see a big peak here, for example, which is the coffee machine going on in the morning and heating up. So it's fun that when you know which device you have turned on or off, and you can see the peaks.
Also, for a fridge, for example, it might be interesting to see if it's using too much power in a month. Maybe you need to replace it.
Replace it with a new one. So it can give you a great lot of insights. Cool. Let's. I can't wait until this is released. People get their hands on the Homey Energy Dongle, and we can start adding more features to Homey Energy.
Exciting.
Last but not least, we have a couple of questions from our users. So if you don't know, you can leave your questions in either the YouTube comments or on the Homey forum or on Spotify or wherever you are listening to the Homey podcasts. And in this section of the podcast, we will answer some of those questions. I think the first one, it's from Bruno Bouke. I guess it's a French name. Sorry that I totally butchered that. But he is asking about energy meters for the French market. So, as we said earlier, in the Netherlands, we have P1, which is a RJ12 or RJ11 plug. That's it's basically a phone plug. That's on your meter. But in a lot of countries, they use other standards. In France, for example, they use LINKY. I hadn't heard of it before, but I had a quick look, and I read there are millions of these LINKY smart meters in France. So that's a standard over there. Yeah,
and I think to make it even more confusing, there are also some countries which are using the same plugs, same plugs, but are using a different protocol.
Exactly. Yeah, that's, for example, the case in Switzerland, I believe, in Austria and Norway. Portugal.
Yeah, they use the Han
or
protocol.
They call it Han, but it could also be something else. So can be a bit confusing. Yeah, in France, on those LINKY meters, they use like 3 pins that you can plug in a device. And I'm happy to see that there's already an app on the Homey App Store that's called LIXEE or LIXEE. So that's LEXEE. It's a community app that will soon also be made official. And we'll also get support for Homey Energy. So they offer this small Zigbee device that you can plug into your LINKY-enabled smart meter, so that you can also get your smart meter from your smart meter in France.
Yeah, so in Homey Energy, it doesn't really make a difference if you're using the Homey Energy dongle or dongle from a third party. The only thing I think which is different is the actual control you showed a few minutes back, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So the controls will look a bit different.
Control.
And of course, it depends on what the smart meter device
is reporting.
Can report.
So like we just explained, like Homey Energy Dongle usually reports every second on the new meters, but it might depend on the manufacturer of the dongle, how often it reports.
Exactly. So I'm not exactly sure what the LIXEE device measured, but I know
it also probably depends on the standard, right? Yeah.
So a lot of things there as well. But of course, you can have a look at the community app page. You can see the capabilities there. But as far as I can see, it can report your power. I guess that's the most important part one, there. And that way you can, can also add your LINKY smart meter to Homey.
Nice. And of course, we also have community apps for dongles in different countries. We talked about the Han.
In Norway, I think Vriend or Friend is a nice example. That's Friend, but not with a D, but with a T. They make Zigbee devices for Han, P1, and optical. So you have one for P1 if you have a P1 enabled meter. They have one for Han if you have a Han enabled meter.
Yeah, optical is also big in Germany still, I think, right?
Yeah, so what the optical smart meters do is they basically have there's a infrared LED, also in a lot of P1 enabled meters. Usually states like 1000 divided by kilowatts next to it. And this LED or infrared LED basically blinks a certain amount per second, per minute to report your energy meter or your energy usage. And what you can basically do is you can grab a optical meter and place it on top of the LED to start reading your power, your power measurements. And the Friend device does that, so it can read this LED and report that data to Homey. So that works. I think the only thing that needs to be mentioned here as well is that if you're delivering power back to the grid,
it doesn't report it correctly.
It isn't reported correctly. For some meters, it will just not blink.
Yeah.
For other meters, it will blink, but just the same as with if you were using power. So it could be that you're delivering 1,000 watts back to the grid, but the meter will think it's reporting 1,000 watts used.
Fortunately, I think a lot of solar panels are the what are they called?
The inverters?
The inverters, they support
readouts
as well. So you also
maybe
can connect
that's an option.
Inverters to Homey and see your solar panel usage.
Exactly. So there are lots of options here. So just we also did create a energy meter Best Buy guide, of course. That's also available on our website if people want to know more. Then we have a next question, which I think is also really interesting. That's from By the Way BG on YouTube. And he says, does Homey plan to focus more on locally controlled devices? One of the selling points of Homey Pro is total local control, but not all apps use local control, but can also rely on cloud APIs, which of course doesn't work if your internet goes down. I think the thing here, of course, we work with a lot of partners that create a lot of devices. And if a device doesn't use Zigbee or Z-Wave or Matter for that,
I mean, it's important to note, I think, that all those protocols, they work locally.
Yeah. So all those protocols work locally. Homey Pro does support them and can just control those protocols locally. But of course, you also
about
see
the clouds-based or Wi-Fi-based devices.
So for mostly devices that are Wi-Fi-based, and devices that are Wi-Fi-based usually come with their own app, and they rely on an API. And Homey Pro does indeed work with some devices locally.
Yes.
So through an API that works on your local network, just like the Homey Energy Dongle does. But some manufacturers also just limit functionality to a cloud API.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on a few different factors. You also need to have an API which supports like the local access. So that's a big thing. And of course, also some companies choose to only use the cloud integration because then they will support most devices. And it's easier.
Since most of the time their app also uses an API, the mobile app, so they can use that or use that with small adjustments. I think a good example of one of the apps that does it really well, I believe, on the Homey platform is the Philips Hue app.
Yeah.
Since what Philips Hue does is they offer two APIs. So they have a cloud API, they have a local API. One works on their bridge, on the local network. If you don't have any other device on the local network, you can also use their cloud APIs. Since, of course, that's one of the requirements for talking over the local network. That you have two devices on the local network.
This works seamlessly in the app, right? So you do not have to configure anything.
Yeah, so for Homey Pro users, they install the Philips Hue app on their Homey Pro, and that talks locally over your local internet or over your local network with the Hue bridge. But of course, there are also people that use the Homey app or a Homey bridge or Homey Cloud, indeed. And there it will talk with the Philips Hue Cloud. So depending on what device you have, it talks with either one of those APIs. And of course, I think it's really important that I think Philips Hue or Signify does it really well here. They offer both options and they leave it to the other company to decide which one they want to use. In that case, both.
Yeah, I think that's, I guess, the answer as well to this question, right? We, of course, heavily lean on the availability of local APIs. And if they're available, it's usually either up to the community developer or the partner to implement one of those or both.
Yeah. I think another example of an official partner is Tado.
Yeah.
Tado has a cloud API, so their devices work over the cloud. And either Homey Pro users or Homey Cloud users, they both talk with Homey or with Tado over the cloud. Since we are just dependent here on the functionality Tado offers here. But I think as part of the question is as well, or what the user is asking here as well is he's wondering if Homey also wants to push manufacturers or talk with manufacturers about the importance of local APIs. And I think that's something that we do very often.
Yeah, of course, we see sometimes companies which are like limiting their cloud API as well, or asking money for it, or it's harder to do if you have a local API because someone already bought your product and you can use it locally.
Yeah, since I think that we all need to realize is that running an API in the cloud does cost money. Hosting and paying for that traffic that is generated there, that does cost money. So what you usually see is that companies offering cloud APIs, either what you're saying are rate limiting so that they are limiting the traffic to their cloud APIs, or that they are asking money. And I always think this is a perfect excuse for a company to adopt local APIs.
Yeah, but it also costs money, of course, to build and maintain the local API. And
so the good thing with a local API, since it doesn't rely on the connectivity with the cloud, is that it doesn't cost anything to run. It runs on the device itself. There's no cloud traffic, so that doesn't cost anything. So that can be a huge benefit for a partner. Since, of course, it also saves them some money. But yeah, what you're saying, that API needs to be developed.
Yeah, usually they have to have the cloud API, you know. Yeah.
So the cloud API runs, but then you also need to develop a LAN API that runs on the device itself. Another thing that I think a lot of users don't realize is that not all devices are powerful enough.
Yeah. It's also a big factor. If you have a light, for example, you're not putting in a large CPU to power.
This is, for example, one of the problems we ran into with the Nanoleaf app.
Yeah.
We do have an official partnership with Nanoleaf, and we work with them through their LAN API. And a lot of devices are available through the LAN API, but a lot of their newer devices, for example, also run Matter, simply don't have the power to also run a LAN API. So,
which, of course, is a bit confusing if you buy a device and
for the end user, that's very hard to understand.
Yeah. It's not on the box usually.
No, it's not on the box. It doesn't say it anywhere. But Nanoleaf in this case decided to, hey, we're going to run Matter on this device, and that will be your way to connect locally.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, the nice thing of Matter, that a lot of those Wi-Fi based devices get local access.
Exactly. So for those Nanoleaf devices, you can use Matter, connect locally, and do it that way. But unfortunately, there isn't any bandwidth to run a local API here. So yeah, it really depends to wrap it up and give it a solid answer. Of course, we do discuss with partners that we prefer local APIs. What I always take the Philips Hue app as an example is, look, for Homey Pro users, we can use local APIs. Also limit some of the cloud traffic, keep it cost
it saves their money as well. Yeah,
exactly. It saves a lot of money, and it works more reliably for the end user. But yeah, for some partners, there simply isn't any option to run a LAN API, and we simply have to rely on the cloud here. So yes, we do find it really important, and it's something that we do talk with a lot of manufacturers. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not something that all the manufacturers offer, or simply, they aren't available all the time.
Yeah, so, unfortunately, no simple yes or no.
Yeah, it's no simple yes or no, but just do know that we are, wherever we can help improve that situation, and we can find LAN APIs that work well, that offer the same functionality.
It's still, APIs. Of course, one of our main selling points. So,
that's something that we do push on. But thanks for your question. Yeah, those are the questions that I set apart for today. If there are any questions that you have, leave them in on the Homey forum, YouTube comments, Spotify, or anywhere else where you can listen or watch the Homey podcast. And I want to wrap up. So thank you, Bouke, for
thank you for having me.
I hope you liked it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Great. And then good luck with wrapping up.
Now back to fixing the last few bugs. And
exactly.
Energy.
And then we'll look forward to the release of Homey Energy in a couple of weeks. Thank you as well for listening. Thank you for watching. And we will see you in the next episode of the Homey podcast.